A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to all of you gathered here today for this very special symposium, the Appropriate Dispute Resolution Lawyers 2026, and I dare say the first of its kind happening in this scale in Sri Lanka. I'm Bilal Marika, your host for the day. So I've been requested to invite everyone outside to come in and take your seats. You can bring in your breakfast if you are still in the process of having it. And we have a little trailer which will be played for you on this special day because, like I did mention before, this is one of the first symposiums of its kind, the Appropriate Dispute Resolution Lawyers 2026. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, a very warm welcome to all of you gathered here today. I am Bilal Marika, your host for the day, and it's an honor and a privilege for me to stand before such a remarkable set of people. And we are all looking forward to an eventful day, to say the least. To extend to you an official welcome, I'd like to invite on stage a very important person without whom most of us frankly wouldn't be here today. Shall we invite Dr. Sarani with a warm round of applause.
A very good morning to all of you. It means a lot to me that all of you are here today. I'll start it that way. This is a day that will make history, particularly because of everyone who's there on the top. Because we are working together with institutions today who have been trying their best, for so long to change the landscape of dispute resolution in Sri Lanka. So this is an effort that we wanted to bring everyone together so that together we can change this landscape. And we have Bar Association of Sri Lanka joining with us today in this effort. Therefore, we are making history, is my belief. And all of you are part of it. So thank you so much once again. And I warmly welcome all of you to ADR Lawyers 2026. I must specifically acknowledge the presence and support extended by Her Ladyship Justice Shirani Tilakawadana with, whenever we speak to her, her support and her blessings have always been there with us in this journey towards, establishing a culture of appropriate dispute resolution Sri Lanka. So ma'am, we most respectfully welcome you and also with a lot of love because you have been sharing that love with us, and we have our most beloved senior of this, I would say the concept of appropriate dispute resolution also, Dr. Kanagiswaran, President's Counsel. So we very warmly welcome you. My invitation to him was a very quick one. And I requested him when he shared a particular thought about mediation, I requested him, sir, can you please join the conference and share this thought? And him being the most humble trailblazer in this profession that I have met, of course, accepted the invitation and is joining today despite his busy schedule to grace the occasion. Thank you so much, sir, for your leadership. Yeah, he doesn't like, a lot of praise, but I have to give it to you, sir. And I must also specifically welcome the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, Mr. Rajiv Amarasuriya, and the Secretary, Mr. Chatura Galhena, because that's the bar's leadership that we need as lawyers, for us to change course and to recognize that as lawyers, we have a duty that is more than just litigation, that we are not only focused on that, but our duty is more than that, and we are actually dispute resolution professionals who have the capacity and capability of delivering more and ensuring that people's access to justice is ensured by all possible means, not only litigation. And that doesn't mean we exclude litigation. We all go to court, we are practitioners. So this is the concept that we will talk about throughout the day today. How do we complement our court practice using these other methods of dispute resolution? Because our focus and our primary goal is actually to make sure our clients get the best solution in the end. And how do we find out that path to find the best solution to the problems that they have? So we have a lineup of 6 sessions today. It's a very packed day, so I must warn you of that. And this day is coming to life specifically thanks to our co-host of this conference, Sage Mediation Singapore. We have the CEO, Mr. Aloysius Go, here with us today. So very warmly welcome him, and you'll listen to him in a little bit. He's like family, so I mean, it's not a special welcome there, folks. You decide family, and works very closely with Sage in this work. I must specifically welcome who travel seas to come here, Mr. Tang Jing Sheng, who came from Singapore to join our panels here today. So thank you so much for being here. This is his second time. As you all know, we had to postpone the conference from last November, and we did it just with 1 day notice. By that time, he was already here in Sri Lanka. But he was willing to make a second trip on his own. I must say, as you all know, we are not getting funding from anywhere. So we got some from your registration fee, which, as you know, is not, covering everything. But so our speakers are actually giving in their time and effort on their own. So that is why this special recognition of their time effort that they have given us. So a very warm welcome to Mr. Tang Jing Sheng, as well as all our panelists. I'm sorry, I'm not going to name everyone and welcome you, but please know that it's a very warm welcome to all of our distinguished panelists who are going to enlighten all of our participants today. And then all of our participants, thank you so much for having faith in this program. This is one of its first kind. So all of you must have even thought, what is this? Appropriate dispute resolution lawyers? I mean, you have heard of alternative dispute resolution, but we have never heard that being combined to lawyers. Now we bring in a new word and say appropriate dispute resolution lawyers. So what are you even going to talk about? But despite that, I think you kept some trust in us and thought that there must be something. And I hope this day will answer that curiosity and, give you something that is valuable to your practice and professional life. So please make use of this day. Ask all the questions you have from our distinguished panelists. And also, let's not forget to have fun. This conference is going to be a little bit different. You will have activities in between sessions. We have a competition. I'm sure all of you gave your taglines. We are going to pick the best 6 taglines because we are planning a way forward. So how do we really pitch it to lawyers? So together, we want to build a community of lawyers who can take the leadership in, changing the landscape. That's what we are going to start from today. This is a beginning, and we hope that just like you kept trust in us for today, you will do the same with us for tomorrow and in the time to come in changing our landscape and giving the best for our clients by mastering resolution-focused legal practice. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sarni Gunathilaka. Of course, she's the woman who has brought to fruition everything you see here today. And of course, like she mentioned, with the support from Sage Mediation as well, amongst other key partners. And it's with great pleasure that I would like to invite on stage Mr. Aloysius Go, representing Sage Mediation, who has made the trip from Singapore to be with us here today. Mr. Aloysius, the stage is yours. A warm round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning, everybody. Well, it's always good to be back in Sri Lanka. The last time that I was here, we were in the midst of strong winds and rain, and still people showed up for a good lunch, and we had a very quick discussion. And in true Sri Lankan spirit, from one simple was it the November lunch, we conceived a workshop and we made it happen. So I came in on Friday at 2 a.m. to start a workshop at 9 a.m. By a strange coincidence, I found this is my personal notepad, and I've got a few, right? And in the early pages of this notepad, there was a note from 2022 when I first met Dr. Sarani. And in fact, it was, I think, in 2021, I've met Dr. Sarani from one of the organizations listed there, IMI. She found me from the IMI portal and emailed me. And I was wondering why. And my first conversations with her, among the many things she said was, you're a unique mediator. Apart from mediating, you have a kindergarten. I was like, okay, that's a unique claim to fame. But she said, no, it's because it shows that I'm somebody who tries and who does things, and we get it done. And that struck me, because that then made me take her on as a mentee, and tell her, then we need to infuse the same spirit if we try to promote mediation. We need to be positive, we need to be optimistic, and we need to always do things and get things done. As I looked through the notes in this notebook, then I also realized that a big part of how I started my journey with Sri Lanka from 2022 was thanks to internationalization. And I asked myself, why are all of you here on a Sunday to talk about mediation? And I realized that I think when I spoke to the BASL yesterday, there's some 26,000 lawyers in Sri Lanka. There's about, I think, maybe about 100 of you, including some of our friends online. There's 100 of you who have read the tea leaves. And what do the tea leaves tell us about what the future holds for lawyering in Sri Lanka? First sign that I would share from an external perspective is global trends. Those of you who are here, I'm guessing you are here because you already feel it. It's not just a forecasting, but you feel it in your practice that legal work, legal expertise, your value as a lawyer is much more than how much you know the law. It's much more than being able to go to court. In 1960s, we had the New York Convention. 60 years later, around 2020, it came into force, we had the Singapore Mediation Convention. Mediation is becoming mainstream extremely quickly. You can't imagine. I mean, Sarani only knows, and those of you who have journeyed with me the last 2 days during the workshop, you know I looked tired, because part of it is because in the middle of those workshops, I was just ventilating a little to my friends. I was having discussions with partners like Sarani in Sri Lanka. I have partners in Dubai and in China, where they are also asking, when can I go there? So that you get a sense of how much mediation is growing. Ting Sheng was with me in China last year, in just one city, Guangzhou. Guangzhou is a southern port city. Its GDP is larger than Spain. So just one city, its GDP is larger than Spain. There are about 6 or 7 mediation centers in Guangzhou alone. Each center has an annual caseload of between 15 to 25,000. And they have not enough mediators to deal with that caseload. 15 to 25,000 per center, 5 to 6 centers in one city. And this is China. We are facing the same in Dubai, we are facing the same in London. Mediation work is mainstream. The number of cases is growing extremely rapidly, but particularly in Asia. The second thing that the tea leaves tell me is shown by the people that we have gathered here. There are policy makers in government, there are judicial leaders, and there are leaders of the legal fraternity. These leaders, in their experience, have seen that we are living in slightly tricky times. I think we can name a lot of individuals around the world who are polarizing society. Is becoming a bit egoistical. And it's not just them. It's the reality of global economics. There is the inequality is worsening. It's leading to fracturing. People are algorithms on tech is making people more aggro. And business leaders and government leaders, they recognize that we need to actively do things to address this fragmentation and this fracturing. This is a big part in Singapore of why our courts have increasingly mandated mediation use. It's why governments are pushing forward mediation acts. It's why our law society offers mediation services. Something that I know the BASL is also actively exploring. It's not just because it's business, but it's because this fracturing cannot carry on without a counterforce coming forward. And all these leaders, your clients, the business leaders, the social leaders, recognize that lawyers play a very big part in preventing and resisting this fragmentation. So the third trend in the tea leaves is that legal service providers, it cannot be business as usual anymore. In Singapore, we're also followers. One of the great things of Singapore is we know how to follow, and we follow very fast, and we will copy and try to do it better. What are we copying? We're copying the trends in London, in Australia, in Hong Kong, where more and more law firms don't just brand themselves as great litigators anymore. That's why I invited Ting Sheng here. He's from a law firm that is very active, and they now brand themselves as mediation advocates among the suite of services that they offer to clients, because they know clients want this. Clients know that at some point, in some jurisdiction, they are going to be asked by the courts to try mediation. And they want to know that the lawyer that I hire knows what it's doing when we go for mediation. And they will know whether the lawyer knows what he's doing. If the lawyer is going there to block the process and interrupt the mediator and cause a possible settlement to fail, they know. Clients today can tell. And law firms know this. Law firms know that if I don't say that I know how to do mediation, my client is going to go elsewhere. The business models have tweaked, and a lot of Singapore law firms, initially they had the same fears. Every jurisdiction that I studied was the same, right? They had the same fears. Will my clients think I don't dare to fight? I don't dare to go to court? Think that I'm not competent enough to go to court? Will it affect our income? Because our revenue stream has always been about collecting fees by going to court. Again, I'm not going to ask Xing Sheng to disclose how much money his firm is making, but I say this as an average. A lot of law firms, not just those in Singapore, have discovered that when they shifted to mediation, they collected fees a lot faster because the cases start and the cases end, and clients like to pay when cases end. So it's helped cash flow. It's helped clients become happier. And what do happy clients do? They don't go away. Happy clients keep coming back, and they bring their friends along when they come back. So it's helped them to get a lot more work. It also does mean, however, that last phrase that I said, it's a lot more work. So Dr. Sarani and Xing Sheng oftentimes come and say, Aloysius, I don't know what you did. We didn't expect this. We thought when we go into mediation, it means a bit more relaxed, you know, it's not so acrimonious, we can sit down, we have time to think. Actually, when you go into mediation, it's a lot more work. You suddenly realize you're getting inquiries from left and right. There's so many things to think about. It's not just more work, it's different work. And I think that's what we're here today. Coming to the conference today, the work is going to be different. We have to do things differently. And I think those of you gathered here recognize this. The work for lawyers is already different. It's already different. We are no longer functionaries of our client. We are ourselves change makers. Dr. Sarani, with You Decide, has put together a fantastic array of speakers. I'm very, very proud of her. I'm sure you will hear many superb, energizing ideas. It needs to go beyond ideation at this conference. If this is going to change history, I think after this conference, talk to each other. Don't just talk to Dr. Sarani and the speakers. Talk to each other. Ask yourself, in 5 years, what is the change that we are going to measure today's conference by? What are the success indicators that will say, wow, Sarani, you remember that conference in 2026? Look at what has happened now in 2031. Let's do this together. Let's stay optimistic so that we are never deterred by cyclones or by any kinds of crisis. Let's keep showing up for each other, for our clients, and for our families. Thank you so much, and let's have a great, energizing time ahead. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Aloysius, for your very insightful opening remarks, as well as everything you've done alongside You Decide Mediation for this field of mediation in Sri Lanka. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, once again, a very special person today. I'd like to invite on stage the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka for special opening remarks. A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Former Acting Chief Justice, Shirani Tilakabodana, Dr. K. Kanagiswaran, President's Counsel, and sometimes we forget that he's also honoris causa member of the Bar Association, Secretary Bar Association, Mr. Chatura Galhena, Treasurer Bar Association, Mr. Pasindu Silva, Mr. Aloysius Goh, Founder and CEO of Sage Mediation Singapore, Dr. Sarani Gunantilaka of You Decide, international participants, representatives of ADR institutions that support today's conference, distinguished speakers and panelists, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to all of you. Today is actually the colloquial second bite of the cherry, as we had to postpone this conference due to the cyclone Ditwa. And often postponements are opportune. And this particular postponement from November to today resulted in 22 further new members of the Bar Association joining the course to soon be accredited as qualified mediators. So that postponement actually worked very well for us. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm pleased to offer these opening remarks on behalf of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka as we commence this important conference on alternate dispute resolution and on the evolving role of modern resolution-focused lawyers. This forum is significant not only because of its subject matter, but because of the collective that it brings together. Today the Bar is joined by Sri Lanka's pioneering ADR service providers, alongside valued international partners. Your presence here this morning affirms a shared commitment that Sri Lanka must be equipped to deliver credible, professional, and international standard dispute resolution services, with our legal profession playing a central role in that. This conference reflects an important reality about the legal practice today. The lawyer of the future, or even the present, can no longer be confined to a single function. Increasingly, lawyers are required to be multimodal dispute resolution professionals, capable of acting not only as counsel, but also as arbitrators, mediators, mediation advocates, negotiators, and problem solvers. This is no longer an optional skill set. It is a necessity in a global environment where disputes are often resolved through mixed methods and hybrid pathways designed around the needs of parties rather than the rigidity of process. This conference, therefore, is not merely an academic exercise. It is a statement of intent. It is an affirmation by the Bar Association of Sri Lanka that we are committed to promoting a legal culture that is client-centered, solution-oriented, and globally aligned. Sri Lanka today faces a serious and growing backlog of disputes, both within our courts and at the point of entry into the court system. There is an understandable impulse in response to focus on expediting cases. But we must be clear, speed alone is not justice. Expedited processes, if not carefully designed, can risk compromising fair trial guarantees, procedural fairness, and the substantive rights and interests of the parties concerned. Justice cannot be reduced to timelines alone. It must also be measured by fairness, quality of outcomes, and the ability of parties to move forward with certainty and dignity. In contradistinction, there are many disputes, commercial, family, community, and even institutional, which have genuine scope for early consensual resolution without sacrificing rights or legal protections. It is in this context, ladies and gentlemen, that we look today at mediation and alternate dispute resolution. It is an effective and meaningful process, one that preserves party autonomy, safeguards procedural fairness, and enables resolution in a manner that fully respects the rights and interests of all parties. It is also important to recognize that mediation is not new to Sri Lanka. We have had structured mediation mechanisms in place since the 1990s, reflecting an early recognition that many disputes are better resolved through dialogue and consensus rather than prolonged litigation. However, historically, these frameworks did not always place lawyers at the center of the process. While they served an important purpose, mediation often developed with limited structured involvement of legal counsel and the legal profession. And for a variety of reasons, mediation, despite its early introduction, has not expanded or matured in Sri Lanka to the same extent that we have seen in several other leading jurisdictions. Today, we recognize that effective mediation must be legally informed, rights sensitive, and professionally supported, and that lawyers have a critical role to play in ensuring fair, durable, and enforceable outcomes. Across the world, legal systems have embraced mediation, arbitration, court-annexed ADR, and digital dispute resolution as essential tools of modern justice. Negotiated settlement now sits at the heart of international commerce. Courts in leading jurisdictions actively integrate mediation into case management. Parties increasingly seek counsel who can combine legal analysis with commercial pragmatism, strategic negotiation, and human insight. Sri Lanka, therefore, cannot afford to remain behind this curve. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka is unequivocally committed to ensuring that our profession keeps pace with these global developments, and that Sri Lankan lawyers are fully prepared and equipped to practice in a world where hybrid dispute resolution systems are becoming the norm. As BSL, we see it as a part of our mandate to help embed internationally recognized dispute resolution standards into local practice, while adapting them to Sri Lanka's realities: practical, affordable, culturally compatible and sensitive, and commercially relevant. One of the most encouraging developments we see today is the growing interest among our younger colleagues in negotiation, mediation, arbitration, and conflict management skills. It is our aspiration that every law student understands the fundamentals of ADR, that every practitioner can offer informed advice on settlement pathways, and that every lawyer is seen not only as a courtroom advocate, but as a trusted resolver of complex legal problems. In the coming months, the Bar Association will continue to expand structured ADR training, strengthening institutional capacity through a BSL center, collaborate with international partners, support reforms in mediation and court-annexed ADR, and promote Sri Lanka as a hub for ethical, professional, and globally connected dispute resolution. Ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude with this thought. The future of our legal practice is not solely litigious. It is hybrid, it must be strategic, it must be client-centered, and it is resolution-focused. The Bar Association of Sri Lanka stands ready to champion that future for all of us. Thank you very much, and I wish this conference great success.
A massive thank you to Mr. Rajiv Amasurya, the President of the Bar Association of Sri Lanka, for the extensive support he's shown, and no doubt we are grateful for him for making the time to be here despite his very busy schedule. And ladies and gentlemen, with enough minutes, I hope, for you to recover from the quick breakfast, we'll be moving on to the first session of the day, our opening fireside chat, which will run along the theme of justice in practice, exploring appropriate dispute resolution. And this session will set the foundation for today's proceedings. It's with great pleasure and privilege that I invite on stage two senior speakers, and with her ladyship's permission or encouragement, I would rather say, I'm breaching protocol this time and inviting on stage a very special individual first, Dr. K. Kanagiswaran, President's Counsel, on stage. And of course, it's with great pleasure and privilege that I also invite Justice Shirani Tilakavardhana for this opening session. And our moderator for this session will, of course, be none other than Dr. Sarni Gunathilaka. Round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, a very good morning once again. So we are starting the day, and when we discussed the panel outline, I thought, why not start with the trailblazers, of the legal fraternity, give a bench perspective and give a practice perspective to set the tone for the conference. So that's why I have the privilege to have this session with these seniors that we have as role models. Without further ado, we have 2 lightning keynotes. So few, new concepts. We thought because it's a packed day, short keynotes from both our distinguished speakers, and then we will have a short fireside chat where all of you are more than welcome to present your questions also to our speakers. I will first most respectfully invite Her Ladyship Justice Shirani Tilakawadana for her lightning keynote.
Good morning, everybody. Dr. Sarani Gunatilaka, our fearless leader in this journey. Dr. Aloysius Kaur, welcome to Sri Lanka and giving us the pathways that you're opening. I'd also like to recognize the president of the Bar Association, Mr. Rajiv Amarasuriya. We were both in a conference yesterday and day before yesterday, and so many conferences during this month. You have amazing energy together with your secretary, Mr. Chaturagal Hena, where you're so involved with the Young Council of Sri Lanka, and I congratulate you on that leadership. I also like to really recognize some of the women here, Miss Dilumi, who's here as a very senior. Madam, are you around? Okay, nice to see you this morning. Now, I must tell you something that happened in my life when I was about 35 years old. I went on this US tour that we're all taken when you achieve something. At that time, I was the only woman on the bench. And in one of the places I had to stop over was at Rhode Island. And as I entered, I was to meet the Chief Justice. And as I entered this enormous building and, very old style, I was told just at the beginning of the door to go into the Chief Justice's chambers. He said, "You're going to have a fireside chat with the Chief Justice." And my heart sank. There was so much of sexism at that time, and my mind jumped to the one thing that I wanted to turn away and run away. Today I'm more educated about it, and I find this is a wonderful, friendly paradigm for us to really not talk, to really communicate with each other. So justice in practice is what I have to speak about. I have about 8 to 10 minutes. And exploring appropriate dispute resolutions. And this is really 2026, and it's full of young lawyers, and you have great energy. And all of you are going to be trained to be leaders. And that is the motive for pulling us out on a Sunday morning to sit here and converse with you. So, in my 50 years of being associated with the law in every capacity, as a young counsel, as a state counsel, and right up to being acting Chief Justice, justice does not begin with a statute, nor does it conclude with a judgment. It begins where all disputes begin, in human experience. Behind every file is a lived history, fear, loss, imbalance, expectation, and hope. Yet, for centuries, justice has largely been seen and conceived as something delivered through adjudication alone, a formal process designed to declare winners and losers, rights and liabilities. That model remains essential. Courts do safeguard rights, articulate precedent, and uphold the rule of law. But lived experience, real-time encounters, has taught us something fundamental. A justice system can be procedurally perfect, legally sound, and still fail the people who pass through it. It is this realization that has shaped modern justice, from a system focused solely on adjudication to one increasingly attentive to a human-centered outcomes-focused resolution, and it is within this more broadly that mediation has assumed renewed significance. Disputes are not abstract legal puzzles. They are moments of rupture in human lives. They arise within contexts shaped by trauma, inequality, power imbalance, and uncertainty. Delay becomes corrosive. Adversarial postures entrench fear. Legal victory can come at the cost of dignity, relationship, and psychological well-being. Mediation responds to this reality not by diminishing the law, but by re-anchoring it to its humanity. It restores voice. It recognizes emotions without surrendering rigor. It acknowledges that justice is not only about the law or about what the law permits, but about resolution which allows people to move forward. This is not justice softened, it is justice refined. Mediation is not a retreat from the justice system. It is one of the most sophisticated expressions here. And I really encourage our president to come and get accredited, because you transform yourself and you honestly transform your whole core and understanding of what justice really means. It empowers parties, particularly the vulnerable, by returning agency to those most affected by the dispute. It addresses dimensions of conflict that judgments alone cannot reach. Trust, apology, explanation, and a future relationship. A mature justice system does not insist on a single pathway. Litigation and arbitration remain indispensable for rights, precedent, enforceability, and public accountability. But mediation operates alongside with them, complementing rather than competing with it. Strategic sequencing matters. Early mediation clarifies interest, adjudication where rights must be authoritatively determined, and even post-judgment mediation to repair what formal outcomes cannot heal. But from the bench, such mixed method pathways reduce unnecessary conflict, conserve judicial resources, and enhance the public confidence in justice itself. We now stand at another pivotal moment in the evolution of justice. I'm going to make just 2 points, and this is my second point. Technology is radically transforming daily life, and the legal system is no exception. Among the most significant development is the rise of artificial intelligence and predictive justice. Tools capable of analyzing vast volumes of legal data, automating routine processes, and offering insights previously unimaginable in scale or speed. In this legal context, AI already supports document review, case management, jurisprudential analysis, and outcomes prediction. Predictive justice, through the analysis of historical rulings, legal arguments, and behavioral data, can assist lawyers, judges, and mediators in making more informed decisions, reducing uncertainty, and encouraging realistic settlements. Used responsibly, these tools can enhance access to justice, reduce delays, and support more efficient dispute resolution. In mediation, AI can assist with case assessment, suggested compromise scenarios, identify patterns of resolution, and extend mediation services beyond physical and geographic barriers. This is not theoretical. Such tools are already in use across many, many jurisdictions, from case law in analytics in Europe to predictive litigation platforms in common law systems, online mediation environments designed to prevent disputes from escalating at all. But the promise carries a profound responsibility. Predictive justice has revealed its dangers as clearly as its potential. Algorithms trained on biased historical data can replicate inequality with mathematical precision. Opaque systems undermine transparency. That is the grund norm of justice to us. Decisions that cannot be explained, challenged, or reviewed eventually corrodes trust. We have already seen how uncritical reliance on algorithmic predictions can distort justice, particularly when systems move from decision support to decision substitution. Across jurisdictions, courts and regulators have responded in drawing a clear line. Technology may assist justice, but it must never replace human judgment. The principle is especially vital in mediation. Mediation is not an exercise in probability. It is an exercise in human understanding. It pivots on perceptions of fear, dignity, remorse, and hope. Realities that no database can fully capture. No algorithm can replace empathy. No model can substitute moral judgment. The future, therefore, lies not in automation, but in ethical integration. AI as support, not sovereign. Transparency by design. Clear accountability for error and bias. Firm preservation of human agency. Discretion and dignity. Justice must remain intelligible, contestable, and humane. This evolving landscapes place new demands on the legal professional. Each and every one of you is personally and collectively going to take this forward. The modern lawyer must be more than a technician of rules. They must be a steward of resolution. They must understand technology without surrendering judgment. Embrace innovation without abandoning ethics. And know when adversarial tools serve justice and when they merely deepen harm. For young women and men, practitioners like you, especially, the challenge is clear. The law will change, technology will accelerate, but ethics and integrity must remain constant. The ethical duty of a law is not merely to win, but to reduce unnecessary harm, guide clients wisely, and protect the credibility of the justice system itself. In closing, justice has never been static. It endures precisely because it evolves. Mediation and technology together offer an extraordinary opportunity, especially to the millennials and the Gen Zs who are here before me, to make justice more accessible, more responsive, and more humane. But progress must be guided by principle and not novelty. As Sophocles reminds us in Antigone, there are laws older than any code, unwritten, unshakable, and deeply human. Our task is to ensure that as justice moves forward through mediation, through technology, through innovation, It must never, it must forever be people-centric and never, ever leave humanity behind. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think that's a wonderful start to today's session, because as lawyers, we are more concerned about justice. That's the first thing that is being taught to us, and we try to find justice for our clients. Then the question is, what is justice? And I think, ma'am, you very clearly explained how justice evolves and in which context we talk about justice. Whatever that context is, it has to always be people-centric. I think that's the key takeaway that we can take from that wonderful keynote speech. And now I turn to Dr. Kanagiswaran, President's Counsel, sir, for your keynote speech.
Are they all lawyers?
They are all lawyers. Yes. We have few engineers.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am greatly honored to have been invited to participate at this fireside chat. I don't see the fire. Chatting I love. I've been around chatting for a long time. So happy to be here, and I am told 99% or 100% are lawyers. So obviously Dr. Sarani is concerned the lawyers must understand more about our, mediation than they seem to do so now. So therefore, let me chat with you. I will start with Sarani's introduction when I walked in as a senior or more senior practitioner, which sort of dates me. To give you context, I have been practicing almost 30 years before the Arbitration Act of 1995 began. So my chat will take you from then to now, because I am rolling on, I have gathered enough moss to share with you some insights which I think is relevant in the background of what I am going to share with you. You'll forgive me that. Huh?
Yes.
So the importance of mediation to lawyers became apparent when the mediation bill was gazetted. Mediation bill provided for the legal framework on the background of which mediation takes place, as we have the Arbitration Act. Because at the end of the day, people being what they are, though they agree and get a settlement, if they go back on it, you need to have a legal framework which gives it strength so that it can be enforced. That's where the lawyers come in. As you understand now, having practiced in arbitration, you go into court as a litigator to enforce. So settlement agreements also. I mentioned this bill because bill was in fact yet to be passed into act. Because it was challenged. In fact, I had a chat with the president of the Bar Association also, by the Bar Association, upon the apprehension that it seemed to exclude lawyers in the area of practice mediation. Now, my Sarani called this appropriate dispute resolution. So when I started, there was only one thing that is appropriate, which is to go to court, see you in court. We had arbitration, which was embedded in an old 1882 statute called the Civil Procedure Code, hardly resorted to, but was done for private partnership disputes and things like that. But bulk of the thing was litigation. I mentioned that for this reason. At that time, the arbitration was not great. We never heard of mediation. In fact, I heard about it only a few years ago myself. I'm sorry for that. Sarani, I'll be honest. It's a chat, no? I don't need to pretend to be anything other than myself. So at that time, we participated in negotiations. Lawyers outside court appearances also participated in negotiations, especially in heavy construction disputes. Commercial litigation started in Sri Lanka only after the second constitution. Those of you who are not born before that, after that we did not know, it's 1978. Then we opened the liberalized economy, and the first big thing was the Mahaveli project. So all Balfour Beatty started rolling their heavy trucks and that and this, lot of activity and lot of litigation because of breach of. There at that time, I was in a matter arbitration there led by Mr. S.W. Jayawardena QC. The foreign advisors, lawyers, Balfour Beatty's English lawyers, suggested, why don't we negotiate without wasting time going to court or arbitration? So in negotiations, I found that now learning about mediation from Sarani, I follow her lectures very closely, very learned in the subject, I must say, and they do that sincerely. I found that there were a lot of similarities. What they I'll come to. So when this bill was challenged in Parliament, the Supreme Court explained what mediation was all about. The fear that lawyers are going to be excluded, that's my understanding, was not, the court said, well, you don't need to worry because that's a judgment that I recommend all of you read. So in that background, I wish to flag two distinct matters which are never flagged. That is, a lawyer as a mediator. Now, Rajiv, sorry, Mr. President Bhai, so you don't mind no chat. It's easy, I say, got Sarani without calling doctor and all that. Don't worry about calling me. So, Rajiv told this morning, I'm happy to know that there have been some 22 odd young lawyers who have recruited themselves in the study of mediation and become accredited members. That is, so there are two roles to the lawyers. First role, the lawyer as a mediator. That requires something that we'll discuss throughout the whole session is that requires of them a complete metamorphosis. Must break out of your old shackles, remove your black coat, your trousers, not that you go naked, but you wear an entirely new dress because it changes your mindset, it changes the approach to dispute resolution. All that, of course, Sarani's domain, I don't want to, I'm merely flagging. That is one role. The other role is role of a lawyer in mediation. That is before the mediation, during the mediation, after the mediation. Because I draw that example from my early days of negotiations. Before you mediate or negotiate or arbitrate, lawyers have a role in advising. Like if you throw your mind back to pre-trial proceedings before, you have to collect your evidence, you must know what is it, you must identify the legal issues, all that are necessary for a mediator too. Only the process he involves in is very different. And he doesn't judge, he just brings the parties together, let them express themselves, which is not so. So, in parties expressing themselves, they need to understand what their case is. Their lawyers will be important, especially in heavy commercial matters, and I am talking about experience in commercial matters and also intellectual property. Those days there was a lot of business. The main business in the country was exporting tea to the Middle East. Those guys only wanted that lovely pictures, two bulls looking at each other or two bulls looking away or something. Other fellows copied. That was very simple, but then it did affect the distribution of tea. The markets are identified, the share of the market. So all that was we done through negotiations. You see, not before the judge. So here, such mediation can be taken through a mediator, whether he is a lawyer or not a lawyer. But lawyers are required to focus on real issues because eventually, when the mediation is over, parties must come to an agreement, a settlement. The settlement must be legally viable. Your rights must be preserved. The future secured. All those things will have to have a legal background and input. So when you come to enforcement, that is important. So I say, do not fear. Lawyers are required wherever, whatever happens in this world, so long as there is dispute. Even Donald Trump requires a lawyer. So in the chat, you have questions, we will answer. My 7 minutes is up, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much, sir. I must say that's a wonderful start, very much complimenting to people-centric justice, to how lawyers actually come in, and that this is an addition. And in no way does it take away your practice, and in no way does it pull you down, but it pushes you up. Thank you very much, sir. And I think coming from you, now we are all confident. Am I right? Yes. I mean, there's no better person who can vouch for that. So if sir says, then it has to be the case. Thank you very much, sir. So we have, I'm just going to put two quick questions, and then I will open the floor for your questions, because that's the most interesting thing. So my first question to Justice Tilakowadana, ma'am, now one of the concerns that we have, I know in your keynote speech you said people-centric justice, but as lawyers we always have this fear, if we go to mediation, will we be giving up on the legal rights of our clients? And thereby would it look like we are actually not giving justice? What are your thoughts on that, ma'am?
I'd like to take a step back and talk about it as how can mixed method dispute resolution actually, does it enhance and bring better effectiveness, efficiency and legitimacy to dispute resolution rather than focus in a microscopic way? So when you look at the large variety of cases that are coming up now, I think we need to pick the right process for the right stage. Right? So mixed systems, and the topic itself is really, I think, very it's beyond advocacy. You know, I've watched lawyers both as a state counsel, as a judge in the appellate courts, killing each other in courts. And you know, those days there were not so many judges who control proceedings because they never expected this kind of young lawyers. Lawyers like Anil Silva, and when he was pitted against Bandara, the deputy solicitor, you know, the biggest, he used to fight on everything, the color of the paper of that agreement, you know. And handling it as a judge there was no precedent. They were completely out of place. And this was a document case, 5,000 documents, a misappropriation case. So it was, at that time, you really have to use every ounce of being a judge to control it. And it's not even fair on the judge. And in that sense, taking, you know, when you say adversarial, it does not mean you get up and punch the person in the face. It means you practice advocacy. And that is where your answer is. And you have no better advocate. In this country, I have heard all of it. I've heard the best, the worst, the big, ugly. What is the song that goes? The ugly, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I've heard them all in both sexes sometimes. But one of the finest men, the greatest gentleman I have ever come across is Mr. Kanagis from President's Council. And please give him an applause. I used to tell my students, please go and look at the way he talks, the way he dresses, his composure. And amidst people screaming lawyers, you know, and I'm not going to mention names here, right? He just...
Now you'll know why she is my most favorite judge ever in the judiciary.
So I think mediation improves adjudication and efficiency. There is no question. It cuts out the BS out of everything, to be very straightforward with you. One, early mediation can narrow down the issues, clarify interests, reduces hostility, and simplifies evidence. Suddenly you're back to bread and butter. Throw the jam, or there's not, you know, there's one of the lot of reasons why the lawyers postulate in this aggression in court. It's like a drama. And they are the biggest actor on that stage at the moment. And they want to impress whom? That poor client, Haramanis, who has come from the, you know, way out village, who probably doesn't understand a word he says, so he has to act it also in court. And I think this is one way for cutting out the drama and getting to the core of the issues that matters to those people. I think it is a more refined process. Find a better word for it. Litigation and arbitration provide necessary authority. That is true, because some disputes require rights declarations, enforcement, precedent setting, and urgent interim relief. And there you need to go to the courts. When combined with mediation, the system becomes both people-centered and rule of law anchored. It throws into focus, you are here to solve the problem legally. Cut out all the rest of the frills. Cut out the drama. I think it's like a sedative given to the lawyers, you know, and I think they're going to miss it. Some of the more dramatic lawyers are going to miss it. And I think strategic sequence is important in it, because early and late stage mediation can sometimes prevent escalation of violence in courts. Late mediation after evidence can sometimes actually clear understanding between parties and increase the prospects of settlements. And hybrid models, MEDAB, MEDAB, all these can, you know, because continuity of decision makers with one mediator. You have judges coming one day, 3 days later the judge is transferred out. You have another judge who comes and says, what's this all about? And lawyers talk, they get paid enormous fees sometimes, and I'm not looking at Mr. Kanison, but your fees are really high. But anyway, and so decision making actually improves. There is trust, efficiency, and certainty, and I think parties experience both adjudicative authority, because though it's not, you're told you are not a judge, you just facilitate. Oh boy, but facilitation is one of the most toughest things to do, because he's so nuanced, so many rules. The process is a very tough course. Believe you me, we had to do. My exam was the toughest, one of the toughest I faced to become an accredited mediator. Everything I had ever learned has to be unlearned first, and this whole new topic where I'm powerless and seated there between. But it was amazing. But I'll tell you why it fascinates me the most. I have sat on benches and watched the poor, the sick coming to courts in a wheelchair. I have watched amazing, quiet women lawyers trying to make themselves heard in courts. And I've always been confused that the grundnorm of justice is what? Equality. Equality. Is equality there in the courts? I have never experienced. I have worked towards bringing in equality, substantive equality, where people are recognized the unequal power balance. And to me, when I discovered mediation, I came to my nest, my home, because there is true equality. Where, through the training and after the training, you listen to both parties equally. And that is a fascinating dynamics. It changes the whole structure of law and takes away the oppression, the power imbalance, and empowers the vulnerable. And that has been my dream in the law. People say, you know, you're women, you're partial to women, you're partial to gays and lesbians, you're partial to the people who are sick. I was seeking for true equality, and I found it in the seat of mediation.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I think that's just one of the most wonderful explanations on how people-centric justice can be achieved through mediation that I've heard. Because I think the crux, just to put it in summary, is that when we pursue justice, we use adversarial means, and sometimes we get lost in those legal principles and procedures, and we become so adversarial that we actually forget what justice truly means. And we find it hard to find that equal playing field, level playing field, and understanding, empathy, all of that. Whereas in mediation, you actually find that. And the other point is, through mixed methods, mediation, we are not saying, you know, only do that. Because there are instances where other methods are important, so you mix it and use it. We have a special session today where our distinguished speakers will specifically go into that topic as well. But I'll now turn to Dr. Kanagiswaran. Sir, when we are lawyers, sometimes we have this fear, will becoming a mediator or a mediation advocate or a lawyer who settles will make me a less of a lawyer? Does it make me look like I don't know the law? Does it make me look like I don't have advocacy skills? I mean, does it take down the quality of me as a lawyer?
Not at all. What you think of yourself matters a lot. You see, it doesn't in any way diminish you, diminish your importance as a lawyer in participating in non-lawyering efforts at resolving disputes. That is important because you are there to serve justice. Not as a lawyer, you have a client behind you. The judges hardly not. Madam was an excellent judge, but there are judges who don't appreciate that. Rajiv said this morning, quick disposal does not consult the interests of the parties who come before court. That is important. Now what's happening at Hulsop with that? As those days in England, they used to say justice was done by the Admiralty judges as fast as you can dust off the pipe powder from your feet. That was under different circumstances. So, a lawyer is not in any way diminished because he recommends, as he said, the appropriate resolution of his dispute. It doesn't, I don't think any will think the less of you because he's a fellow who is always settling. He doesn't, people say that, don't go to him, you must want a fight. It depends on the client who wants a fight because he wants to delay the process. If you are a defendant, you want to fight and appeal upon appeal. Those are considerations which are on the periphery that the mainstream of lawyers will not consider settlement as a weakness, can be looked upon as a weakness. So eventually it depends on your own character, your strength and the belief in yourself as a lawyer. What is it that I am taken the oaths to do? I mean, I know it's philosophical justice, searching justice. But as a lawyer, you are taken your oaths to be true to the court, to speak, at the best interests of your client. So what are the best interests of a client in a particular case? Might be a settlement, might be a negotiation, might be arbitration because he can't afford to go to court and the delay that there are lots of people when we started the Arbitration Act and soon thereafter came into arbitration. And that also is another story what about arbitration. Because they considered litigation in courts very time consuming. So they preferred this when they were told. Likewise, mediation, it's less confrontational. It depends on your own personality. You are a fighter or something like that, or you are not. Because there are some, I have seen some young lawyers, I don't want to mention name, excellent arbitrators. One or two in particular, young lawyers. They are, when I say young, they are podiums for me as a rank concern. But excellent lawyers have this temperament and the empathy that you hardly see in such young men. So you must calculate that. You must cultivate that kind of attitudes in yourself if you want to become a mediator. So that you select an alternative dispute resolution mechanism appropriate to the interests of your party, not yourself. I mean, it's easily said. People do want to make money, you're in a profession to earn money, but even so, you've got to balance your interests as against the interests. I don't want to be ideological. You balance your interests again because primarily, in my case, I have always consulted, not that I'm boasting, the interests of the party who comes before me. Recently, I'll tell you a story, if I may. There was a family dispute. You see, it's a terrible family dispute, full of legal, I don't want to mention more because you will guess. So the mother came to see me. It seemed to me it's a family among the children. The mother was, one of the sons was her favorite. One fellow was very good and making all the money in the business. Then she wanted a legal opinion how the elder one can be replaced. Then talking to her, I found that she was, you are favoring your younger son and not the elder son, and she started crying. Which is true. I said, this is not a case for going to court. This is not a case for arbitration. This is a case you must mediate. Just last week. So I could have said, let's go and fight it. So eventually, it's a personal call, personal judgmental call, what you want to do. Sometimes it's a choice of preference. That depends on your character and background and things like that. Am I too hard? Well, that's my old man's take on this.
Thank you very much, sir. Do we have any questions from the audience? Any questions? No? Okay, at the start itself, we have addressed all the questions. I don't. Yes. I think as the day goes along, let's see whether more questions come. But I think this opening fireside chat has set a very good opening pathway to all the other sessions that we have lined up today. Thank you so much, dear ma'am and sir, for always enlightening us. We want your presence for a moment. Yes, because we plan to hand over the certificates for the participants. The first batch we trained at Bar Association of Sri Lanka, which in